Okay, let me say this. I'm gonna get straight to the point, right? Uh, it's about the Russia Ukraine war, and how it's going. Because if you know anything, Vladimir Putin been complaining about this forever. For almost 11 years, he's been complaining. He's been warning about this thing. As far as the U.S. or NATO bringing weapons to Ukraine, that's close to his border, which makes perfect sense. You have NATO bringing stuff in. You have the U.S., of course, number one at creating problems in the world, always at the forefront of everything, every conflict. And 90% of the time, they create the conflict. If you can see countries that are bordering always have conflict between them, 90% chance that the U.S. create that conflict versus borders, country that are bordering. That's what you see around the world. So, hence Ukraine and Russia. Okay. See, I don't know, man. The world says Americans are the stupidest, dumbest, the ignorant people in the world. It makes sense. I can't say every American is stupid, and of course not. But generally, Americans are dumb and stupid for real. Now they sitting. Americans got the nerve to sit back and talk about, oh, Russia is not doing good in Ukraine. Russia can't even handle Ukraine, or blah blah blah. U.S. propaganda, U.S. Press, U.S. media should not be trusted. CNN, Fox News, whatever, bunch of garbage network. Everybody who got some sense know that. So they always gonna they would always paint it to look like Russia is doing bad, right? Uh, but then again, what they're not gonna tell you is it's Russia versus NATO and America. And NATO, a bunch of countries put together, America included, versus one. So they need all these countries put together versus one country. They bring in all kinds of weapons to Ukraine. So my point is to Americans, I got a question for you. Ukraine is being fed weapons against Russia from all over the place. If Russia wanted to annihilate Ukraine, they could have done that easily. Ukraine would have a chance against Russia if they really want to do damage. You know what I'm saying? But they're trying to be as careful as possible, not hurt as much civilians as much as possible. They're trying to be careful and hit the targets, specific targets. So they're being real careful. So in the long run, that caused them to lose certain equipments. That caused them to lose soldiers and everything. So that's understandable. You know what I'm saying? But for the Americans, I'm telling you, let me ask you this. Everybody, the world saw how terrible the U.S. did against Iraq. In Iraq, the U.S. was terrible. Terrible, disgusting. Terrible. To me, if you ask me, that's when the world realized America is just the U.S. is just a highly, highly, highly overrated. Because mind you, the Iraqis didn't have a damn thing. They were fighting with their bare hands. They didn't have defense systems. They didn't have fighter jets. They didn't have anything, and they still managed to kill upon thousands of U.S. soldiers with their bare hands. I had two friends of mine in Iraq, and what they told me, they said the media is lying. They're not telling us the real numbers. The real number of American soldiers. He said almost to 10,000 American soldiers died in Iraq. So imagine Iraq with no weapons at all, with nothing sophisticated to fight. You know what I'm saying? And they still managed to kill thousands upon thousands upon thousands of U.S. soldiers. Imagine if Russia was feeding Iraq weapons at that time. It would be no American soldiers back home. It would be none left. Just imagine if Russia was feeding weapons to Iraq. The Iraqis was handing the U.S. ass to them barehanded with pretty much nothing. On the other hand, Russia and Ukraine, you got countries, NATO, top countries after countries after countries, feeding them weapons and weapons and weapons. So that means it's pretty much Russia's fighting against 40, 50 different countries. You know what I'm saying? And they still holding on tight because that shows weakness. You need that many countries to come together against Russia, and Russia's only just one. That means you're so weak. The U.S. and NATO are so weak. They have to all these countries come together to try to take down one country. That shows how strong Russia is, and that shows how weak U.S. and NATO is to come together and still can't do nothing about Russia. Meanwhile, America's talking about, oh, Russia's doing bad in Ukraine. No, Russia's fighting against a bunch of countries who's feeding Ukraine weapons. Meanwhile, the Iraqis was alone kicking U.S.'s ass. So if you ask me, Russia's doing 10 or 50 times better versus Ukraine than the U.S. did against the Iraqi war. You can't even compare. You can't even compare. Russia's doing a way, 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 way much better job in Ukraine than what the U.S. did in Iraq. To be honest, you be honest with yourself. The U.S. was just killing innocent people in Iraq. Over 1 million people died, bro. Over 1 million people died over a lie. Over a lie. And nobody's calling the U.S. a bunch of criminals, Washington criminals. Nobody's holding the U.S. accountable for killing 1 million citizens, civilians, innocent civilians, over a lie. And then you want me to believe now Putin is this big bad evil person? No, the U.S. is the devils in Washington. Y'all a bunch of demonic evil people in Washington D.C. I'm gonna give you another example. They are so evil. The U.S. is so evil and demonic and disgusting. Think about it. The war with Japan, the conflict with Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? Everybody remember that, right? The Japanese, they attacked a military base, right? They could have easily go over civilians and drop bombs and shoot down and kill innocent people. They could have easily done that. I'm not saying they should have attacked. Nobody should have attacked nobody. Nobody should have, they should have never came in the U.S. and did what they did and do what they did. So I'm against that. But at least they didn't come after innocent people. They could have easily dropped bombs on innocent people in here in the U.S. when they intervened, when they invaded. The United States is so evil and demonic. You could have gone after the government. You could have gone after the army. You could have gone after, the people responsible. You're so evil and demonic and the devil that you are. You dropped the bomb. Excuse me. You dropped the bomb on civilians. You dropped the bomb on children, women, men, innocent people. You're the devil trying to point at somebody else, trying to show somebody else is bad, but you're the devil. The world witnessed it. You could have easily go after the government, whoever you was going after in Japan. You're so evil and demonic. You decide to drop a bomb on innocent people, and now you're telling people somebody else is evil, as if the world didn't watch how much of a criminal, how much of a demon the United States is. Cut it out, man. And I'm telling you, all empires fall. No empire is eternal. Nobody's eternal. There was other superpowers before the United States. Their time is up. Their time is coming. They have to go. That's how it is. That's how God made this world. Only God is eternal. Nothing on this earth gonna be eternal. So you had your time. When your time is up, you gotta go. That's all I gotta say.